Imagine selling over $20 million using Amazon, but deciding that isn't what you love. That is exactly what our guest today, Nathan Hirsch, did. After a few years using Amazon and selling a lot of baby products as a 20-year-old, baby products as a 20-year-old, he realized that it just isn't what he loves. That's why he started FreeeUp with 3 E's, and that is this episode of the 1004 show. It's episode 59 with Nathan Hirsch of FreeeUp. Check it out. In your title, you like to call yourself a serial entrepreneur. How many businesses do you have to start to be able to designate yourself as a serial entrepreneur?
I would say two, with the goal of opening more. I hope FreeeUp is not the last business that I start. So I'm addicted to starting businesses and helping other people along the process.
So we'll talk about FreeeUp in a second. What is it about starting businesses that makes you so excited? And then are you afraid of getting that business to the next level to stay with something for so long? Or what is it about kind of that starting that is really infectious?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, the way I got into being an entrepreneur is my parents are both teachers, so that made me kind of rebel against teachers, and I didn't want to go the normal way where you graduate, you get a job, retirement account, and that's your life. My parents got me into these different internships, different full-time summer jobs, and I really learned one thing in that I hated doing it. I was looking at the clock every day, working for other people, just didn't motivate me in any way. And when I met with the CEOs, because I was so fortunate enough to have these great internships under these CEOs, they could be at the golf course working for them, people doing the things that they didn't want to do. And I've always had that mentality that life is just too short to do things that you don't want to do. And as an entrepreneur, if you're successful and you're able to grow a business, eventually you get to focus on the things that you like and get other people to do the things that you don't. So that's really what motivated me as an entrepreneur. And in terms of getting just leaving a business behind and going on to the next one, not really the plan. I mean, with the Amazon business, it was so thrilling because I started it when I was 20. I was pushing all these products. I was selling ridiculous things like baby products that as a 20-year-old single guy, I knew nothing about. And it was a lot of fun. But after doing it for 5, 6, 7 years, it kind of lost its purpose. Yes, I was pushing products and adding to my bank account and helping the people that were on my team, but I wasn't really helping the world or contributing in any way, in my opinion, and it kind of got old and boring. With FreeeUp, and I know we'll talk about it later, but I get to help people. I get to go to conferences and speak to entrepreneurs and motivate them, and everyone's had those bad experiences hiring. I get to work with freelancers and workers all around the world who are really good at what they do and passionate about it and perfecting their craft and help them provide for their families. And we've helped thousands of businesses just grow because when you get access to great talent, your business grows immensely and they make people look really good. So while the Amazon business, I kind of realized I don't have the passion for anymore. And I've realized that with FreeeUp I do, and it wouldn't be something that I would just shut down FreeeUp and go on to the next thing. It would be that FreeeUp is growing, it's prosperous, and I'm able to come up with another idea that impacts people in the same possible way, because I've kind of realized one of the ways that I've evolved as an entrepreneur is I've realized it's more than just the money.
So you're rebellious against your parents. Do you have a good relationship with your parents?
Great relationship with my parents. I didn't always. I was definitely that rebel child who didn't want to listen to anyone. But I mean, my parents are awesome people. They're retired now. They travel the world. They were always supportive no matter what I was doing, even when I told them I was going to become an entrepreneur and graduate. And I mean, they just want the best for me and my sister. And we couldn't be more opposite people. And I'm definitely opposite from my parents. But we've kind of gotten to that point in life where you're mature enough to understand that no kid loves their parents. I guess there are a few out there, but you're always going to have those disagreements. But at the end of the day, we care a lot about each other.
Growing up, what was the most trouble that you got into? What did you do?
So I rebelled against teachers, and I was one of those students that I would get really good grades but I just didn't really respect teachers at all. I was always pulling pranks. I was always going out of my way to make their life as miserable as possible because I felt like they were the reason that I was stuck in school for 8 hours every day when I really wanted to be out doing something else. So schedule book drops for everyone in the middle of class would look off the table. We'd have like door slams where we'd kind of run around when the teacher was teaching class and kind of slamming a door on them. Nothing crazy. I never got arrested or anything like that, but just disruptive behavior during school hours.
Do you think, I think it's important to learn about someone, the backstory first to then get into the real meat. Do you think that you disagree with education? Like you don't like learning, but you just didn't like the medium that you're in, the place that you were? Because it's starting to sound similar to me where I 100% believe in education and learning and constantly evolving, but I want to learn it on my time and where I want to do it, not by this forced piece that society says you have to learn it from.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I remember sitting down with my dad, and he does physics, or he was a high school physics teacher for AP physics, very high level stuff. And I was like, listen, I do not like science. I'm never going to pursue anything of science. Science will not impact me in any way. Why do I have to take science classes? I want to take more business. I want to take more math. I want to do stuff that I actually like and enjoy. And being forced to do things usually tends to make me want to do the exact opposite and rebel as much as possible. So I agree. I have nothing against learning. As an entrepreneur, I feel like I'm learning every day, especially with the people around me. And I'm always trying to do things to advance my business, but I'm also not spending time learning things that I don't want to just to say that I have the knowledge. It's all something that is either going to impact my business or impact my life in a better way. And there's just so much information out there that, in my opinion, doesn't do that.
Yeah, I find when I don't know something and I know I need to know a little bit of it, I learn that little bit of it so that I can be knowledgeable enough to make educated decisions, but I don't try and become an expert in that thing, right? So I need to understand the accounting in my business, but I don't need to be a full-on accountant, a CPA, take all those classes, etc. I need to know the legalities of my business, but go hire someone that's spent all those hours with that. So how do you receive advice from other people then? So when you're learning and someone is teaching you something, how do you receive that advice? Do you try and curate them, figure out if they are knowledgeable enough in the topics that they're talking about? Because I think a lot of times in education, the people who are providing that information are very academic and not necessarily practical. I had a meeting before this morning, and we were talking about academics and how what they're saying is very smart, but they don't necessarily have the business acumen, if you will, of like, oh, here's the thing that I need to do. So when you receive information, how do you kind of receive it, qualify it, etc.?
Nice. I like this. This is way better than the normal podcast questions I get asked. So when I'm receiving stuff, I think as an entrepreneur and more of me just as a logical person, like you said, my first reaction is, does this person actually know what they're talking about and why? Did they just read it in a book somewhere and they're kind of passing that information off to me, which I felt like a lot of my sisters did, or a lot of my teachers did. You always have that expression, like people become teachers when they can't do it themselves. So my first reaction is like, all right, has this person actually done something that is going to teach me something? And then from the second thing, and I think this is where I separate myself from other people, so many people that I talk to, they're trying to get every little piece of information from someone to the point where it's almost like copying. They're like, oh, if I do everything this person says, I'm going to have success. And that doesn't happen for a variety of reasons, one of which, once someone comes out with that great marketing book and everyone starts to doing the same thing, it kind of loses its effect over time. So for me, I'm kind of grabbing tidbits. Both my companies were bootstrapped. It was from information that I learned in college, because I went to school for entrepreneurship because I could finally go to school for something that I liked, from past internships. But it wasn't like I took every single information or I learned from a mentor and just followed him to the T and followed his path to success. I was taking little pieces of information from everything I learned and applying it to me how I thought it should be applied. And to me, that's how education is really effective. And I think the most successful entrepreneurs do that in their own way. There's very few of them that just straight up copy people from point A to point B.
Yeah, there really needs to be a disclaimer more often, I believe, where it's like, hey, this is what I did. It probably won't work for you. And also, if everyone is talking about it, it's probably not going to work, right? So it's October 30th, 2017. A lot of people are talking about Facebook chatbots. If everyone invests in that, a couple weeks go by, it might not be the thing. And I think that if you just start copying what other people are doing, it's tough because you haven't tested it, and that's just a way that someone figured out. Recently, we learned a hack on. We do a lot of webinars, and so here's a hack if you want one. We learned, and not a lot of people are still doing this, but you can go on Eventbrite and create an online webinar in different cities across the country. So instead of having to physically go have a face-to-face meeting or push an ad out, you can actually go on Eventbrite and click all like the top 150 cities and then push stuff out, and then people will sign up for this online piece. It still sets it up as a physical event, so you have to finagle it a little bit, but it's a way for you to market out there, kind of your growth hack, if you will, by using a platform that wasn't necessarily set up that way, but that might not work for everyone. And so you just have to find these little things and test them out for yourself. And I think that's where people get wrong, is they're looking for this get-rich-quick scheme, or they're trying to get this, how can I become an overnight success, when it's just like, do this thing for a very, very long time. And if you do that, hopefully good things will happen with it.
All about trial and error. It's the best way to be an entrepreneur. You try things out. You take calculated risks. Yeah. You go in with an objective mindset. The people that fail, they go in being like, oh, this is what my business is going to be in 6 months, and they won't adjust to what the feedback and what the data is giving them. I mean, with my Amazon business, I thought I was going to be selling really cool products like sporting equipment and computers and TVs. And after 6 months of failing to sell every possible cool thing I could imagine, I found out that I was really good at selling baby products as that single 20-year-old guy. And so if you had asked me 6 months ago, what would I be selling? It was totally different than reality. But I wasn't focused on what the end goal would be. I was focused on trying things that would work and figuring it out and taking feedback and constantly improving the systems and processes.
You mentioned how what you're doing now with FreeeUp, and it's 3 E's, so free, 3esup.com. You're actually helping people. I'm interested in why you think you're helping people now, and with the business on Amazon, you are not. Why do you feel that? Because to me, it seems like you're helping both people. The difference isn't actually that you're helping, it's that you enjoy this one more.
Yeah, so I was helping people with both businesses. With FreeeUp, I'm able to help a lot more people. With the Amazon business, I was helping the manufacturers that I was shipping products for and their team, and I was helping my team, and I was helping myself. But I didn't really feel like I was expanding beyond that, and I was always looking for ways to do it, and we had a lot of trial and error things that didn't work out that kind of always kept us back into, okay, we're pushing products and we're making us money and our team money and our manufacturers money. With FreeeUp, I mean, the marketplace is 700 plus freelancers, so we're helping them. We've got thousands of clients, and we're helping them. And I mean, whenever you start a business, you don't know what the client reaction and feedback is going to be like, but it's been overwhelmingly positive. And then our team as well. And both sides of that are constantly increasing. The clients are growing and the freelancers are growing as well. So I'm able to reach a much larger audience. I'm able to speak about it on conferences and podcasts and webinars and take people's feedback and apply them and continue to put things in different perspective to get people to get that aha moment. Like we were talking about, that you can hire people to make you look really good, to either free up your time or to just do things that it would take you forever to be an expert at. And when I'm able to help people like that, it is a lot more enjoyable. And part of that enjoyment is the amount of people that I've been able to help.
For context reasons, tell me briefly a little bit about the Amazon business. I know you guys did 20 million plus over the last few years. What did you guys do with that?
Yeah, so business is still running. I'm in talks to slowly get out of that. I don't want to go into details too much because nothing's finalized yet. But like you can probably see, I enjoy FreeeUp way more. With the Amazon business, I started it when I was in college, 20, running a multi-million-dollar business out of my college dorm room. I graduated and had to make that decision. Do I go out and get a real job because I had some offers like my parents wanted me to do, or do I continue being an entrepreneur? Obviously chose the entrepreneurial path. Moved to Florida, opened up an office. realized that that was one of the worst business decisions I ever made. Scaled it back down to just being remote, or not scaled down, just moved it to being remote. And both my companies are 100% remote right now. And we've been running it ever since. And once we kind of moved it back to being remote, and then it kind of, I mentioned we tried different things to help and influence more people, and it always came back to pushing products. That was when I was like, okay, I enjoy the hiring side of it. I remember having the same hiring issues that I had before I came up with a good system, or even when I had a good system, just the time that it takes to do it. And that's when I really started working on FreeeUp. And as I started to work FreeeUp more and more and more, I started to hire people to kind of take all the stuff that I was doing and do it for me in the Amazon business, to the point where FreeeUp is now growing rapidly. It's a lot more fun. I'm not 100% dependent on Amazon. And so that's kind of where my focus has shifted. And now I'm kind of making personal decisions on how I want to spend my time going forward, especially once we get through this busy season.
So within the last 5 months, I decided to officially get out of my office. It was 5,000 square feet, to go completely remote as well. It's interesting that you said that was a one of the better decisions that you made was to get out of that. I'm believing that the same thing. I once a month get a massage. The same person massages me every month. And from the month that I started to the month before that, she goes, "You're not as stressed anymore." And the only thing that had changed was I got basically rid of my office. And so I love it. I think it's great. I think remote work is something that the world is going to evolve to. I think we put too much emphasis on these big shiny buildings and say, hey, this is the way that you need to work. And I don't necessarily, I think people should work where they're comfortable depending on the business. Obviously there are certain things that people need to go and physically be in a place, but I believe that if a person can be comfortable in their home and get the same amount of work done, if maybe more, being more productive, why not put them in that situation? How quickly for you did you realize that remote was the right decision?
Yeah, I mean, shocker, we agree on something else. When you go into an office, you don't realize how much small things there are. Just things from emptying the trash to some, maybe the sink breaks, to just like drama of people being together in one place. I remember I kept having these meetings that I consider just drama, unproductive meetings. And I looked at my business partner, Connor, and I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. Like when we were working for remotely, like, yeah, there's kind of that loneliness factor, and it kind of takes a little bit to adjust to if you haven't done it before. But there's just so many pros to doing it. Like I can work in my pajamas someday. I don't have to necessarily be around people if I'm trying to focus on one thing. You eliminate a lot of that drama, especially as you become better and better at hiring remotely. And yeah, I mean, if you can do it, there's no other way to go. I mean, having an office, the only pro was it was cool to have a desk with my name on it, like having that office, but that's not really a pro. That didn't really
But you have that
help.
right now too, right?
Exactly. And it wasn't worth it in my opinion. It wasted money, it wasted time. It surrounded me with some people that I realized I didn't want to work with in person. And the remote teams that I have now are incredible, and we have a great culture. And that office that I thought you had to have if you wanted to build that culture, it's just not the truth.
Yeah, it's 100% agree. One thing that I have learned in this process, so I'm trying to educate myself, best practice and everything. A lot of people talk about the camaraderie is missed or not seeing people. We do a daily call with my team, or almost a daily call, and I'll do stuff like this, and then I try and have lunch several times a week. And I'm a very extroverted person, so I like to get out. But I still feel like I'm getting more done this way. I don't know. I don't know what it is, because I feel like when I was in that office, I was forced to, even though I'm the boss, I was forced to do things that I didn't necessarily need to do. And so whether it was make sure I was the first one there, last one to leave, and it doesn't mean I was only working 9 to 5. I was working before and after, but I felt like, I need to be Peyton Manning and be there the entire time, when it actually, I feel like, was not efficient. And now I wake up 7 o'clock almost every morning, and I work for a few hours. I then go take a shower and do it. And it's crazy to think how we force ourselves into this world that we think that we need to be in, and you just don't need to. So do your parents understand what you do?
They do. It's actually been really impressive. So at first they had no idea what I was doing, and they're the kind of parents that they care a lot about their kids. They want to be involved in our lives and know what's going on, and they've learned and they ask really great questions. We talk about it here and there, and they have a really good idea. For my Amazon business, my dad still has user permission, view access login, so he would always log in and see what we're selling and check out the metrics and the sales numbers, and that was kind of a cool way for us to bond. With FreeeUp, he has access to our software.
Where did you go to school?
Quinnipiac University in Connecticut.
Can you spell that?
Quinnipiac.
Why go there?
They had a really good business program. It was within an hour from home. And yeah, I mean, the main thing was their business. They have a really nice campus. When I did tours on it, I was really impressed. The close to home was good. I wasn't the kind of person to go home every week, but I have a good relationship with my parents, so here and there I could do it. And yeah, I mean, those are really the main reasons.
Did they do your laundry for you on weekends when you went home?
They did not. My parents are always in the mentality that if I want to earn $1, I make $1.
So tell me a little bit about FreeeUp, the background, what it is, your elevator pitch. What is FreeeUp?
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned I've been selling online for a while. I've hired hundreds of remote workers to help me do it. I'd really seen every good from my business owner, Connor, that was one of my first hires, to the bad, the hires that wasted my time and money and really drove me crazy. And over the years, I'd come up with this really good process for vetting people, not only on skill, but on communication and their attitude. And when talking to other people, they were having these same hiring issues that I had in my first few years. And even if they had a good system for it, they just didn't want to spend all their time on recruiting. It takes a while. So I had the idea of taking what other people liked from the other marketplaces like Upwork and freelancer.com and getting rid of what they didn't like, which is a lot of the time. So at FreeeUp, we get hundreds of applicants every week. We vet them for skill, attitude, communication. We take the top 1%, we let them into the marketplace, and then we make them available first come, first serve. So as a client, it's free to sign up. There's no monthly fee. Anytime you need a worker, you just submit a request. And within 24 hours, usually faster, we introduce you to someone that's pre-vetted, ready to go. You can meet them. If you like them, click hire, and you're good to go with your project. And on the back end, we have great customer service, and we're also insurance against turnover. If a worker quits for any reason, we cover all replacement costs and get you a new worker right away. So that's really what separates us from the other stuff out there, and it's all based on my real hiring experience.
Are you vetting automatically through an algorithm, or are you guys like manually vetting people each time?
Yeah, we have our freelancer success team that's going through multiple rounds of interviews, reviewing resumes, all that kind of stuff.
How much are people spending on recruitment per person? Is there kind of a standard, like someone spending $10,000 trying to find someone, or how big of an issue is this for businesses?
I don't have those numbers. I probably should get it for some marketing purposes, but I just know personally how much time it takes. And talking to other people, I know it takes a very long time. Even our recruitment process, I mean, before someone gets even longer. And think about it, if you're a business owner, you need to hire someone to build your website, to do graphic design work, to do your customer service. Do you really want to wait that long? And then what if that hire doesn't work out? Then you have to start all over, post new jobs, wait another week or two. And sometimes it can be way longer than that if you don't even get the right application. So, I mean, it's all about time. There's no place else I know about that you can submit a request and get introduced to someone ready to get started within 24 hours.
Having a good business, I think a lot of people have. I think getting that business out is the difficult thing. So how do you set yourself apart so that people know that FreeeUp is something that is valuable? Because I think there's a lot of businesses that have enough capital to push out a bad product, but it's difficult for a small bootstrap business like yourself to be able to get out there so people can find you.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the best things we ever did, once we had proof of concept and we had clients that really liked us, is we came up with our referral program. So any clients that refer other clients to us, you get 50 cents for every hour we bill to them forever, and that adds up fast. I mean, right now we're on pace to pay out over $150,000 in referral money this year. So it's pretty much free marketing, not free, but it's not like we're spending money up front to market. And so it's so quick to get the word out. I mean, from influencers pushing us because they love the product and they want their community to benefit and, of course, get that kickback, to just people that try FreeeUp for the first time and they're wowed with the speed and the reliability, and they go tell 10 of their friends about us. So that's been huge. I mean, we do podcasts and webinars every week. I speak at different conferences, different events. I'm faculty at CEO Space. We run Facebook ads. We do a lot of standard marketing techniques, like have a blog that links back and partner with lots of different places. But the referral program was that one really good idea we had early on that's really allowed us to accelerate faster than just those normal marketing techniques.
How often have you changed that 50 cent per hour number?
Not that often. We do have some influencers that, depending on what their community is, will increase that. But for the most part, it stayed the same. The one thing we did do on the worker side recently is it used to be you'd get 25 cents for every hour that a worker that you recommend bills forever. But we made that to be 50 cents if they're considered an expert. So that way people felt like they were actually getting their money's worth by referring higher level people.
From a budget standpoint, how much... you don't have to tell me the actual number, but from a percentage standpoint, how much of your budget is for marketing?
Yeah, very small percentage. Being a bootstrap, I mean, it's probably 5 to 10%. Nothing crazy. I mean, with us, because there's such a little barrier to entry, it's free to sign up. There's no monthly fee. You can end the agreement at any time. It's really in our best interest to get you good workers that you actually like. It's very easy to get in front of someone and be like, hey, we have the solution, try it. And a lot of people sign up. Our conversion rates are really high. So we don't have to spend that much money. I think a lot of going into the second half of year 2, which is what we're in now, and then going into next year once we get through this busy season, is really figuring out where to invest that money, because we have the money. We're definitely going to increase the marketing budget, even though we've had a lot of success. But is it Google AdWords? Is it more Facebook ads? Is it maybe hiring a big PR firm to just get us everywhere? Where is that effective? Because we don't have that standard business model where you get someone to sign up, you make $1,000. It doesn't work like that. You're trying to get people in the door using the service ongoing.
One thing I think as a bootstrapper, I'm a bootstrapper myself, so we think very similarly, is that there's grunt work, and grunt work historically might have looked like, shoveling or doing like manual labor. It's still manual labor. You still have to reach out to people. You still have to do all the work, but it's kind of the digital version of that. And so trying to put together, a 25% budget for hundreds or millions of dollars is something that, even if you have the capital, you sit there and you go, is this money well spent? And I think oftentimes you and I would probably say no. It's like, no, like pick up the phone, write an email, text someone, like tweet them and say, hey, can I be on your show? Like, these are things that work. And why pay someone a lot of money to do something when you're very capable to do it yourself? And so my guess is you feel very similarly to that. And why go broke trying to figure out certain solutions that don't necessarily aren't going to help you in any kind of way? When you're looking for new people to hire, where do you go to find these people? And then now you use your own service?
Yeah, so for my internal team, we only hire people that are already in the FreeeUp marketplace. In order to get people into the FreeeUp marketplace, I mentioned that referral program, which is great. We do social media a lot. We're partnering with lots of different Facebook groups of freelancers that continue to promote it out. We have influencers, a lot of the same thing, the podcast, the webinars, the blog articles, that kind of stuff. And then we also use the other marketplaces out there, and we're open about it. We partner with the Upworks, the freelancer.com. We would probably get 15% or less of applicants through those platforms. And we follow all their policies when we do, but we're essentially going through those places that are way bigger than us, that have a much bigger selection, and we're really focused on that top 1%.
I think it's easy to find the influencers. I think it's difficult to convince them to do something. How do you take it from getting them to not only respond to you, but then to get them to actually push you as well?
Sure. So, my thing is, are you willing to talk to me for 5 minutes? If so, I'm going to tell you my story. I'm going to tell you what I'm up to. I'm going to tell you my thoughts. pretty quick because I'm a pretty fast talker and I like to value other people's time. And then if it's something you're interested in, we can go as small as a blog swap to as big as a webinar to your community and beyond. And that's kind of the way I approach it. I'm not, yes, I'm going to follow up with you until I get an answer and I'm going to be persistent, but I'm also not here to waste someone's time if they're not interested. In this case, we give them a FreeeUp account. We have them try it. We don't want them just blindly promoting products to their community. I mean, we have a solution here that we believe in that's been proven by clients. A lot of times we'll have people in their community already that have used FreeeUp for a while have positive feedback, and we'll do the grunt work. We'll go out and we'll gather those testimonials and we'll show them that, hey, we're not just this random company. We have something that can impact your community, make you look good, get the kickback, whatever you care about, because every influencer cares about different things. And that's kind of the approach that we take.
How many times or when do you stop reaching out to someone?
Yeah, I mean, if they tell me hard no, don't contact me again, that's usually when I stop. If they're like, hey, I'm not interested right now, I'll schedule something in 6 months or a year out and not harass them, but just check in. And I mean, some of my best relationships, I just got this webinar with this girl, Barbara, who's a great influencer. I was contacting her for 2 years. I was incredibly respectful, as polite as possible. I didn't harass her, but it was 2 years of hard work to get this webinar, and it's something I'm proud of. It. And a lot of times it's something that we joke with after the fact. I mean, I ran into an influencer at a conference the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, I've been chasing you down for 2 years. It's great to meet you in person. And I mean, as long as you're not that person just harassing them and going after their family and just kind of bothering them at every point, if you're polite and you're an entrepreneur and they understand that, you're going to have success big picture.
I have this year received a check from a business that took 6 years to get a check from.
Nice, yeah.
Always had a relationship with them, always tried getting money from them, but then finally convinced them. And even once we finally secured the deal, then we had accounting issues and ways that they could pay, which was a completely different thing. We had to go through a procurement department, and that was not fun. You've talked to a lot of business owners, a lot of people who work at businesses. You've been working on several different platforms over the years. You've done hundreds of interviews. What's the best tip of advice that you would give to someone about specifically growing a business that is already validated, making money, and has customers?
Yeah, diversify as much as possible. Diversify your client base, diversify the people inside your team so your business is not just relying on one person. I've seen countless business owners that haven't followed my advice. They've made all these bad hires and then they find this one really good hire, and then all of a sudden they load them up with everything, and then that person gets pregnant or quits or whatever it is, and their business stalls. So revenue streams diversifying when it comes to different revenue streams, different suppliers, different types of clients, different team members. The more you diversify, the more you protect your business. And when you get to, at first, you're kind of doing that trial and error and figuring out what works. Once you figure out what works, it's all about minimizing risk as you continue to grow. And the best way to minimize risk is by diversifying.
What is the highest percentage in a business then that a specific piece of their business should be from? So if you diversify, what's the percentage? 1%, 50%?
Yeah, it's a great thing. I don't have a hard number, and I'm sure it's not the same thing for every business. I mean, my girlfriend's company just lost one of their biggest clients, which was 17% of her business. Not her company, she works there. But I mean, it was huge, but at the same time, they're a massive company. So 17% to me, if I lost a client that was 17%, is a lot bigger of a deal than her company. So it really kind of depends on the situation. And at the end of the day, you can't really control every little thing. If a client's going to drop you, you can do everything. You can bend over backwards, but you can't control if they're going to drop you. What you can control is leading up to that point, how much you diversified and tried to build up your other clientele. So if they do, it didn't hurt you as much.
Speaking to that point of communications with clients that you already have, what is your kind of process or playbook put in place to communicate with them once you already have them?
Yeah, so we're all about customer service. I did an internship at the Firestone Corporation, and they knock it out of the park. I learned so much about customer service from them. And I mean, step one is always having time for people. There's never a situation where clients are going to contact me and I'm like, oh, I'm too busy for you. I mean, yeah, I might be like, I was at a wedding over the weekend and I send them a text. I'm like, hey, here's my calendar. Let's talk first thing on Monday if that's okay, if it's not urgent. And 99% of the time it's not urgent. And so with that, always just going out of your way to make sure they're taken care of. I mean, I own a marketplace of freelancers. They do an incredible job. They make me look really good. We're still dealing with real people. We're dealing with situations where things can get messed up. People can make mistakes. And so all you can do is when those things happen, you fix them quickly, you value people's time, and you move on and you put steps in place to make sure that doesn't happen. And the other side of it is I eliminate as much gray area up front. As a client myself, I hate working with someone where things change, or maybe they change their pricing, or maybe we didn't discuss something, so all of a sudden it wasn't included. I eliminate that up front. I'm brutally honest with people. I tell people how it is. I answer their questions, and I let them know what risks there are, if any. And then I'm there to back up everything that I say. I don't put myself in a situation where I have to lie to someone or bend the truth or whatever you want to call it. It's just not the kind of relationships I have. I try to be honest and have people know that they can depend on me whenever that crunch time hits.
I think a lot of people get business, and maybe it's because they're in desperate mode, but they get, and we've worked with thousands of businesses over the years, so I've seen this probably 1,000 times. But we get so excited about winning business, and then we allow kind of our roots to get away from us, and we don't communicate what we really want to have happen. And so we overpromise, we underdeliver, and then we get into these issues when maybe they're not educated enough in this process, but it's just we get so excited that we won some sort of business, and it could have been maybe our biggest project that you've ever done, and instead of making sure that people know exactly what they're going to get, or to the extent that they can know, and then deliverables, communication's a big thing, right? A lot of people, can I communicate you after 5 p.m. before 9 a.m.? Are you going to call? Is there a charge for that? Like, all this communication back and forth can be settled up front. What are some ways that you communicate kind of deliverables or what expectations are so that you don't run into that trouble with a client at a later point?
We have a terms of use that we actually make people sign. But I always tell people, I'm like, listen, this is the company that I built. We have systems and processes for pretty much every situation that we've seen. And if a new situation comes up, it gets added to our terms of use pretty quickly. So at the end of the day, I can only offer you what I can offer you. And I understand that FreeeUp might not be the perfect solution for every single business out there, but at the same time, I'm very confident in what we've been able to do. I know clients are going to be taken care of, and this is kind of the way it is. And if the client accepts that, great. But I'd much rather that they walk away because they don't agree with section 2 of page 3 or whatever it is, than us to have a fight about it in 3 months. It's not worth either of our time. So I think what we're doing is fair. I think it's reasonable. I think it benefits the client. It's just the customer service is always going to be there. It's just eliminating all that gray area up front.
You have a business name that is spelled in a non-traditional way. Mm-hmm. How did you decide that was acceptable, and what type of backlash have you seen?
I haven't seen that much backlash. Some people go to the FreeeUp site with 2 E's. If you look at our logo, it's FreeeUp e-commerce. So the third E stands for e-commerce. We work with a lot of e-commerce businesses. I'd love to have the domain FreeeUp. It's owned by Verizon. It might be something that comes up in the future. I haven't seen it really hurt business. I'm sure some SEO experts would disagree with me. But it's one of those things that we can change. If you look at Upwork, they got huge and they were Odesk, and then they switched over to Upwork. So I'm kind of the person that if the right opportunity comes up, it's not like I'm here hugging that name FreeeUp forever. It's not the name that really defines the business.
I appreciate that. And you have a .com, which is a good thing, where, if it was something a little crazy like .hiring, that could be a difficult one. As you've hired, what are some of the challenges that you've gone through finding people, and how do you fix that?
Yeah, so it always comes down to that skill, attitude, and communication. If you think back of every bad hiring experience you ever had, it's very rare you're like, wow, this person had the skill they said they had a great attitude, they communicated well, but they were an awful hire. It usually doesn't work like that. If you get all three, 99.9% of the time it works out really well. It's when you're really focused on the skill and you ignore the attitude and the communication that you run into issues. You can hire the best Facebook ad guru, someone with tons of experience who's run these big campaigns, but if they have a bad attitude, they don't care about you as a client, if they can't communicate, you can't get a hold of them, they're not updating you, you don't know what's going on, you're going to have that bad experience. So, I mean, with attitude, I'm looking for someone who's passionate about what they do. I hate doing QuickBooks. I forget what you said you hate doing before.
QuickBooks would be one of them.
Yeah, but if I hire someone to do my QuickBooks, they have to love QuickBooks as much as I love being an entrepreneur. That's what a good attitude means for me. Those are the kind of people I surround myself with. And on the communication side, I don't have time to chase someone across the Philippines or across the U.S. I need to be able to get a hold of someone within reason, get updates, know what's going on, speak the same language. If someone gives me an estimate, gives me a delivery date, I'm holding them accountable to that, and I only work with people that can constantly keep their word because I know that I'm always keeping mine. So focus on those focus on the communication and the attitude just as much as you focus on the skill.
I like that. Skills, attitude, communication. That's really good. Your best friend, entrepreneur or not?
Yeah, entrepreneur. My business partner Connor. We've been through a lot together. Good, really good, and some down moments as well. I mean, I met him at my sophomore year of college, one of my first hires, and I mean, we've been really close ever since.
Do you have a close group of like 5 friends? You know, the 5 people around you. Are they all entrepreneurs?
Not all entrepreneurs. A bunch of them have worked for me like here and there, but some of them haven't. We just had a wedding Saturday night with our entire group of friends that's here in Florida, and yeah, it was awesome. And yeah, I try to have a friend group that's not all entrepreneurs because that can get a little bit crazy when you're all in the same mindset.
Knowing that those people are not like you and that they work for someone and that they live a very much vacation and 9-to-5 attitude, how do you put yourself in that situation and try and communicate with them knowing that you're probably thinking differently than them?
Honestly, I try to avoid work talk as much as possible. Work talk is boring. I mean, I'm very passionate about FreeeUp, but the last thing that someone wants to do is hear me talk about FreeeUp all the time. So yeah, if they ask a question or like something comes up, I'll obviously bring it up. And same thing, I'll be like, hey, how's your work going? Hey, you got a promotion? Like, let's talk about it here and there, but it's not the central focus of our friendship.
I just got married a few weeks ago, and
Yeah.
thank you. One of the things that very early on we stopped doing was we stopped talking about work because it was. See, here's the thing about remote work: when you don't have an office, you get and you live next to a hospital, you have the ambulance go by every once in a while, and usually I can mute that if you're talking, but I couldn't. But this is live television, no. So one of the things that, because my wife is not an entrepreneur and probably never wants to live in that kind of lifestyle, she has a 9-to-5, she's a manager of a business. We don't talk about work at all. And so she comes home, I just go, hey, how are you? And she never asked me about anything. I never talked to her about it. And it's interesting, I hosted a TV show on ABC and she works at a TV station, and we actually work for the same place. But people are like, oh, so Megan told you about this. I'm like, no. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know the drama. I don't know any of that stuff. And it's kind of like you were saying, though, being at an office, there's so much more added drama that's unnecessary because people just do it to do it. And it's ridiculous. And so I'm drama free, I guess, now. Not that there was a lot of drama before, but you get the point. What is your favorite business book?
Sure. So start with why, which is very similar to kind of the reasons that I said before. Just reading the book, I was like, yeah, my Amazon business, it's what I do and how I do it, but there's no real why. It's not like I'm passionate about baby products. Yeah, selling on Amazon was fun, especially when I was in college, but with FreeeUp, there is a why, and the why is huge. It's all my past hiring experiences, all my talking to other business owners and realizing they went through the same thing, to helping people focus more on what they're passionate about and what they're really good at rather than finding clients. There's so many whys. I could talk about it for an hour, but it just the good businesses, the businesses you care about, the ones that get to that big level, they all have that why. And if they don't, they eventually fail.
Simon Sinek is the author of that, a very popular book and a very popular TED Talk, if I remember correctly as well. Other than FreeeUp, what is your favorite business tool to use?
Skype. I'm on Skype all the time. I get thousands of Skype messages a day. I have assistants managing my Skype. It's such a great way to just communicate with people all around the world, from the emoji buttons to just having a group meeting. I'm a big fan.
Favorite emoji button then?
Honestly, I'm pretty basic, but I have workers that go crazy off the wall. At the end of every meeting, they'll get pumped up. We do a here we go, and then everyone posts their emoji, and we let them have fun with it. So I'm definitely not an emoji master, but I pop one in here and there.
Is there a CEO or someone, a business leader that you follow that you look up to?
Yeah, and it's pretty new. This guy Adam Markel, he's really good at guest speaking. And he teaches people how to guest speak. I was just at his house for a weekend in San Diego. He's an unofficial mentor of mine, and he's someone that I just love learning from. He's got a very good mentality on life and just interacting with people and getting your point across and keeping people engaged. And I love it. I'm always he's one of my favorite people to talk to.
Adam Markel?
Yes.
Cool. Is there a quote that you live by?
Work hard, play hard. My mom always said that. It's one of those things hey, when I'm in college and I'm partying, I'm still getting good grades. I'm still running this business. Everything you do at 100%. It's something that I live by.
I think we know that you work hard. How do you play hard? What do you do when you're playing hard?
Well, I'm not a professional athlete, but I do a lot of sports. I play baseball, flag football, stuff like that. You're getting me at a good time. I just got over 2 surgeries. That was probably me playing too hard. I had knee surgery and shoulder surgery at the same time. But I do I work out 5 days a week, hang out with my girlfriend. We just adopted this adorable puppy. Actually, it wasn't just. It's been a year, which is crazy, that we hang out with a lot. We have a dog park right outside, hanging out with all the neighbors. Hanging out with friends, Netflix, all the normal human stuff. Us entrepreneurs, we're real people too.
You've been featured on several different podcasts and stages with different entrepreneurs. Who is your favorite kind of host or venue to be a part of to get your message across?
I love speaking at conferences. I just spoke at the Business Summit and the Private Label Summit and CEO Space, and it's something that is out of my comfort zone. I'm an extrovert and an introvert. I like being around people, but I'm definitely not at my most comfortable position. But it's something that I've taught myself to do over time, and I've been committed to it. So it's that new challenge that if you asked me 5 years ago if I'd be guest speaking, I would have said BS. There's no way. And so that actually being face to face with people in those limited half an hour, 1 hour talks, whatever it is really thrilling for me. So I think that's kind of one of those things that I'm the most happy about.
Putting yourself in a uncomfortable situation, knowing that can help you grow your business. That's a big thing to get through, and I think a lot of people are too afraid to do it. What did I miss about you, FreeeUp? What's something that people don't know about you, the business, or what did I miss?
Yeah, I mean, man, what do people don't know? People know a lot. I'm pretty open. I have an incredible team. Having an incredible team makes you look so good. If you're doing everything yourself, that has a shelf life. I remember when my accountant asked me when I was going to hire my first employee, and I told him never, and he just laughed in my face. You eventually have to do it. I mean, if you've made bad hires before, if you don't have the time to hire, if you've just never done it before, it's something they don't teach you in school, and it's so important. I'm putting together a video series right now. It should launch soon about how to hire your first VA if you've never done it before. And it's just something that I'm really passionate about because I know how successful you've been. And I've talked to people who have used FreeeUp or just heard me speak, and they've hired that one VA or the two VAs, and it's just changed their life. They get their time back. They can focus on their family or expanding their company. And I just want to stress how important that is. Whether you use FreeeUp or not, you have to learn to hire. You have to learn to hire effectively. Even if you're not an entrepreneur and you just want to be a manager, you have to know how to deal with people and manage people. It's a really good and important skill set to have.
Do you have a template or like a guide on, I know you're doing the video series, but like what an email to your VA should be like when you are looking for a new task?
Nice. That's a good one. I don't, but I'm going to write that down and I'm going to come up with one and then I'm going to send it to you afterwards.
So about this time last year, I read 4-Hour Workweek, and I believe the book can be summed up in bulk your life, basically, like bulk do your life. But there were some certain things in there, like with VAs and like how detailed that stuff needs to be. And I think one thing that's misled with VAs is like, oh, I don't have to actually do the work before I send it to them. You have to put together a very solid template, I think, to make sure that you over-communicate so that nothing is wrong. And so I'm interested in seeing this template because I think you still need to know what you want. And so the who, what, when, how, where to find those things. And so, for example, finding someone on a podcast, you can say, here are the type of people, but then you still have to show them kind of where to find them. And so I think that's misleading sometimes where people don't think that they have to do any upfront work to get that VA.
Yeah, well, I don't have the email template. I sent you something to put in the notes. It's the client expectations document that a lot of my clients use, free document, and it kind of does that same thing. It eliminates the gray areas up front, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, I think that's eliminate those gray areas. It's so good. Nathan Hirsch, I appreciate your time. This has been awesome learning about you and FreeeUp. If you guys are interested, check out all the show notes on Nathan, and looking forward to continuing this relationship with you, Nathan.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Check out freeup.com with threes.
I love the extra plug. That's good.